very good to see all of us online. And today we have, also have a, last week, if you remember, we have about 12 of our Dharma family from Singapore joining us here live. We usually don't get live audience, but it's always very nice to have a group of people. Yes, so today we also have a group of our masters here that will be guiding us as well, and they will be hello, hi, okay. So they will be here as well. So let us begin our review. If you all remember last week we hadn't had a chance. We were predicting that Master will begin the morning lecture series on the lunar 16th, and boy, did we get it right. But because of that, we have about 3 days. But last week we talked about Dharma Master Di Jia, and we talked about how we should do everything we can to preserve and sustain our Dharma lineage. That's what we talked about, because for someone who has contributed so much in Buddhism, why is it that after 1,500 years, we don't know him? Why? And so it's very important that we sort of can preserve and sustain the Dharma. And then how do we do that? Well, let us not forget the way that we preserve our Dharma lineage is by not forgetting that year, that moment, and that thought. And what is that year? Well, that year may be different for everybody, right? For Taiwan this year, it's 20 years ago, the earthquake that inspired many people, including myself. We were inspired, so not forgetting that year. That moment, what was the moment that you were moved and touched? And what thoughts when you were inspired, making that in aspiration? So that's how we try to do, is not forgetting what happened in the past. And then we talked about in chapter 3, this is exactly, Master telling us to not forget about what happened that year and that moment. But this is exactly what the Buddha told Shariputra in chapter 3. So this is what in chapter 3, was talked about. So the Buddha says in chapter 3, talk to Shariputra. He said, I will not reveal to you that in the past, for a very long time. Okay, in the past, for a very long time, in the presence of 2,000 billions of Buddhas, the Buddha had led and inspired Shariputra constantly for the sake of the highest path. And next, and the Buddha said, you have followed my instruction for a long time. Because I led you with skillful means, you were born in my Dharma. This is what the Buddha said to Shariputra after Shariputra claimed that he had not learned any of this. And so the Buddha says, oh, Shariputra, in the past I inspired to seek the Buddha path, yet now you had completely forgotten this and consider yourself have attained nirvana, meaning you thought you knew, and you thought that you knew what I taught you, but you forgot all the things that I have taught you. And then next, Buddha says, now because I want you to remember the path that you practiced according to your original vow, I am going to teach you the Mahayana Sutra called the Lotus Sutra. So this is the beginning of parables of chapter 3. This is exactly what Master is telling us right now, not forgetting that year, not forgetting that moment, not forgetting that thought. This is Buddha in chapter 3, reminding Shariputra, the wisest of all the disciples. You didn't get it. You forgot all of this. And let me remind you what I taught you before. And that just tells you what? After 20 years, after the earthquake, 20 years has gone past. How many of us have truly still remember what happened or our aspiration? How many of us? Master still reminded us. And the most important thing is Master didn't give up. She didn't give up because we forgot. She didn't give up because, we seem to said that, oh yeah, sure, I was there and I remember it all. No, she didn't give up on us, just like the Buddha did not give up on Shariputra, right? Shariputra is still thinking that, how come you taught the Bodhisattvas all these nice things and they're all, all attain future Buddhahood, but we were all left out. He was still thinking that, he was left out for some reason, and he was the wisest. He was 智慧第一, but he didn't get any of that. So why? Well, the truth is, it was the same teaching for him all this time, but he had forgotten all. Okay, so this is, I think, the most important, the most memorable part of chapter 3. Not the white ox cart, not the burning houses, but rather that the Buddha wanted Shariputra to remember that it was all taught. It was all taught already. But because it was so important, so the Buddha will say it again. Okay, so this is what we talked about last week. And not only that, we talked about the review from chapter 13 all the way to 19. We reviewed quickly the meaning of all these, the meaning of the connection between the chapters. And that's what we talked about last week. Now, if you weren't here last week, it's all very encouraged that you go on and you can see the recording to see how the chapters were all connected, especially the last 4 chapters, 16, 17, 18, and 19, how they're all connected through the word faith. Chapter 16 focuses on the word faith, 信, on the word faith. And because you have faith, 信, so then you will have give birth, or you have give the beginning of merits. 信为道源功德母. Faith is the beginning of merits. So because you have the faith from chapter 16, that's why you can have 17, 18, and 19 that all talks about merits. If you do not have faith to begin with, you will not have 17, 18, and 19 of the merits. So these are all connected by teaching us how can we practice and become a teacher of the Dharma. So before, in chapter 19, we talk about the different types of eye. We talk about vision. And we talk about the functions of the eye. The vision of physical nature, the vision of divinity, the vision of law, vision of wisdom, the vision of Buddha. Okay. So all these functions of the eye we talked about last week. Okay. So now, finally, going into this week's review. And it's only been 3 days. I think 3 days, 4 days, 4 days, 3 days of Dharma talk. And the first day was still warming us up. So 3 days of Dharma getting back into the Lotus Sutra. You can see that master did not lose any step, you know. Immediately she goes into, you know, I was thinking she was going to do a review. No, there was no review. She picks up at where she left off last year in November. And right away talks of as if she just, you know, spoke yesterday. And so just continue talking about the merits of the ear. So this week, we're going to be talking about chapter 19. Merit of teacher. Okay. What does it actually mean? It means that as a teacher of the Dharma, there are benefits. You know, there are benefits to becoming a teacher of the Dharma. And what are those benefits? The benefits are, okay, so if you remember the very beginning, if you uphold the sutra, recite, explain, and copy the sutra, okay, if you do all these things, you are considered a teacher of the Dharma in which you are passing on the Dharma. These people will attain all these merits, you know, 800, 1200, and all these. We talked about this last year, right? Okay, so more specifically, these qualities, 800, 1200, all of that, will adorn the 6 senses, the 6 sense faculties, and purifying them all. What that means is that if you are upholding, reciting, explaining, and reading, and copying the sutras, your 6 sense faculties, that means your eyes, ear, nose, tongue, and your skin, and your body, and your mind, all of them will be purified. That's the good things about being the teacher of the Dharma. You get all these goodies, right? All of a sudden, they're all purified. Okay, so, and then how do you do that? How do you do that? The chapter began with the eyes. With the eyes, okay? If you do all these things, once again, if you uphold, if you read and recite, and if you explain, okay, and so it's 读写书送 and copy, if you do all these, you're going to have all these very superpowers. What are these superpowers? It says, through the natural bodily eyes, the eyes that we all have, okay, which are thus purified, because you did all that. You are passing on the Dharma. You are doing your job and responsibility, fulfilling your duty as a disciple of the Dharma. You are passing on this Dharma, and therefore your six sense faculties are purified. When the natural bodily eyes are purified, you are now not going to see just the things in front of you, but you are now going to see the mountains, forests, rivers, and oceans, both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos. That means you are going to see more than just your vision right now. You are going to see more than just the things around you. You're going to see a lot more of these things, okay? And not just that, not just see the forest, the rivers, and all of these things, but you are going to see all the way from the lowest hell up as far as the highest summit of the universe. From the lowest part to the highest part, from the inside to the outside. Not only that, the naturally bodily eyes will see all of this, but they will also see all the sentient beings there, perceive and know the causes and consequences of their deeds and of their states of birth. What does that mean? It means that you are able to see their past, present, and future. And the reason why you're able to see their past and present and future is because now you have granted, because you are fulfilling your duty as a teacher of the Dharma, and now you are getting the merits of the teacher of the Dharma, which is allowing you to see more than all what your eyes were supposed to see. And furthermore, although they have not yet attained the divine eyes, you are still talking about the eyes that you and I all have. We are still talking about this eye. We have not attained the super divine eyes, but their power of sight will be like this, what we just talked about, being able to see all of this. That's the first part of chapter 19. Chapter 19 tells you, if you are a teacher of the Dharma, if you are willing to pass on the teaching to somebody else, whether by reading, reciting, copying, explaining, or upholding, or practicing it, doesn't matter how you do it, but if you're willing to do that, then you will be able to have these powers, even though you have not attained the divine eyes. Their power of sight, you will be able to see the great mountains, the great rivers, and both in and out of the great cosmos, as well as from the lowest to the hell to the highest of the summit, and also perceive the past, present, and future of all sentient beings. That's what this chapter is talking about. And it's not done yet. It's going into what? It's going into the next part, which is hearing, ears, again. So it repeats itself. It repeats itself. The chapter goes into hearing. It says, if someone were to uphold, recite, explain, or copy the sutra, they will attain the 1200 qualities of the ear. So they talk about the eyes first. The chapter talks about the eyes, the vision first. Then it moves on to the ear. But it's the same thing. It's the same idea. Through their pure eyes, ears, they will now hear. Same thing again. Both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos. So this is the repeat of what was talked about for that vision. The hearing is the same thing. If someone were to fulfill their duty and their responsibility as a follower and disciple of the Buddha, if someone were to uphold the sutra means I'm going to practice the teaching of the sutra. If someone were to uphold, recite, or reading it, or explaining it, or copying the sutra. Remember, why is copying important? Because in the past, there is no writing. In the past, you can only rely on talking. But once the invention of the paper is here, you have to copy this down, because without copying, how will we be able to know the teaching of the Buddha? Thanks to someone who actually copied down the writing, that we're able to learn the sutra. So these people, they're all passing on this teaching. Whatever they did, they will now attain what was talked about before, the vision of the quality, the vision power. And now they will attain also the hearing of the 1200 qualities. Through their pure ears, they will hear both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos. And not just that, this is almost the rewrite of what was heard before. Down as far as the lowest hell and up as high as the summit of the universe, they will hear all kinds of voices and sounds. Okay? And I'm only talking about the sutra text itself. I'm not even talking about what Master said. So all these things are what's telling us in this chapter. And the logical answer is why? Why is it for someone who is upholding the sutra? Why is it for someone who is willing to uphold, to practice, to read, to recite, to copy, to explain? Why is it for someone like that, their eyes will be able to see the great within and without of the cosmos, to hear from the lowest to the highest, and perceive the past, present, and future of all sentient beings, and that they will be able to hear the sounds? Why? And the answer, Master gave us the answer in these days. So this is what the verses that Master gave us yesterday. And from yesterday, it became so clear. The sutra itself the sutra tells us the qualities and the merits of all the teachers of Dharma. But Master explains why. So from this, and I thank to all the translation team, because I got all this from the translation team. Okay, you guys are terrific. You guys translated Master's talk into words. So all I need to do is, I don't need to translate again, because I was thinking, how do I translate all this? Great, let me look at what you guys did, and I found this, right? So thanks to the translation team that did all this. So this was from yesterday, okay? Observance of all manner and things. And this is talking about the eyes. Observance means you're looking and you're hearing, okay? Observance of all things. It's like mirage seen unsure of its true reality state. It was beautifully written, even though grammatically, I don't know if it's correct, but it's beautifully written. Okay, now, due to the benefits for the sentient beings and to walk among the masses, but not to be tainted by the Saha world, and to maintain one's heart and mind to be as pure, calm, and soft like the new water spring. Okay, so all these things is the reason for why. That's the answer for why, as a teacher of Dharma, is able to attain all these super qualities of hearing and vision. And let me go through this. Why? So instead of going through the observance of all matter and things, let's go into the source, which is to benefit all the sentient beings and to walk among the masses. All of this started because the Buddha wanted to benefit the sentient beings, because the Buddha wanted to go among the masses and to help them. Just like what the Master said yesterday and today, because you're hearing all these crying, because you're seeing all the suffering, you want to help them, you want to benefit them. So what did you do? You go into the masses, you begin to hear them, you begin to see them, and you are afraid. What are you afraid of? You're afraid that you're going to miss somebody. That's why you begin to look far and wide. You begin to hear from the lowest to the highest. You don't want to just hear this. You want to hear more. That is why Master tells us to constantly watch Dai TV. Do not just be focused with your own problems. Look into the bigger world, the within and the without of the cosmos. Not just your home, not just your family, not even just your community, but look into far and away. Look at what's happening in Syria. Look at what's happening far and away in Africa. What are we doing there? So very quickly, you are not just within yourself. You are not just within your own family. You are not just even within your own group. You are now beyond beyond the cosmos that you know of. Why? Because you're afraid that you are going to miss somebody. You're afraid that there are these opportunities that you can help them, but you didn't know that they're suffering. So because you want to benefit all the sentient beings, and because we need to walk among the masses, your vision and your hearing begin to expand. You're not doing this because you have the supernatural powers. You're doing this because you care and you want to help them. So therefore, you begin to observe. You want to help them. You first see and hear their suffering. But then you need to go deeper. How do I help them? Are you the kind of people that can accept my help? Master today said, it's not anyone who is willing to accept help. Master this morning talked about the story of Shariputra in the past lifetime being a snake. He was so stubborn that he would not let go of his bite. He would rather be burned alive rather than to let go of his bite and say, I'm sorry, I should not have bit you because you are a practitioner. No, he was so stubborn. So it was very difficult. And I was thinking about at the time, did you guys know that right now in Venezuela, there is a huge problem, a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. And what did the government do? They blocked off the access from Brazil. They said all the humanitarian aid do not come in. We stop you from coming in. So all the people in Venezuela, they have no way of getting their humanitarian aid help because the government doesn't want to accept help. This is really happening in our world. It's not Shariputra in the past becoming a snake and refusing to let go of the bite. This is really happening. For the sake of all, for the benefit of all sentient beings, the Buddha asked us to observe, to look, to listen carefully, to look at how to help them, to listen to what they're saying and figure out how to help them. Because it's all like a mirage. Sometimes it's real. Sometimes it's really bad. Sometimes it's, the government is trying to be as, tougher than they are. They're trying to block off and say, we don't need your help, but they really need our help. So how do we do this? Observing all of this to be able to help them. That's when you begin to look deeper. That's begin to look not just the suffering, not just the hearing for crying, but you begin to hear deeper into everything. You begin to see, why is it that they feel this way? You begin to see their past. You begin to see, oh, in the past, Venezuela has always been a petroleum exporting country. They were rich, but the people were poor. You begin to see their past, explaining why they become how they are today. And then you begin to see, well, if they continue to be like this, then their future will be like what? So what do we do? How do we how do we work with them, cooperate with them? Just like North Korea, how did the Tzu Chi were able to send tens of thousands of tons of rice into North Korea? It's the same idea by observing and listening. Something could be real, something could be mirage, but how do you differentiate? Because you care. Because sometimes, just like Master said, sometimes when somebody is shouting at you, what do? You have to be understanding. That's a mirage. What do? You think of them as at least they're healthy to be shouting at me. That's just exactly what's real and what's unreal and what's reality. So because of that, because you're so carefully observing everyone, you are not tainted by the world. You are not easily affected by all the negative things around you. The people around you saying bad things, you are not tainted. You are not shouting back, but rather you understand why they shout. You understand that they are feeling insecure. You understand that they are angry, but most importantly, they are afraid. So how do you help them? First, by not be tainted. And then you are pure, calm, and soft. You flow in like the water. What does that mean? You don't go in like a hammer. You go in like water. Hammer means if there is no way, I'm going to break it through and make way. Water is like anywhere there is a gap, there is a hole, water goes in. Wherever there is a hole and there's a gap, the water goes in. It doesn't ask to make a new one. It makes a way for itself, A hammer says, I'm going to make my own way and hammer his way through. But instead, because you observe, because you understand, because you accommodate, 包容, 善解, therefore you are willing to maintain your heart and mind to be pure, calm and soft like the water. So Master explained, because in the text itself, the Buddha didn't say why that the teacher of Dharma gets all these powers. And instead, the sutra only says that the teacher of the Dharma gets all these power. But Master, through these couple of days, have been telling us why. Because you care. Because for the sake of all living beings, for the sake of all suffering sentient beings. What is Master teaching us? Always saying, turning consciousness into wisdom, turning your hearing, turning your eyes, turning what you think you know into wisdom. You think that they are shouting at you, but you change that into understanding and accommodation. That's wisdom. Turning what everybody think as normally as they are blocking us from helping, that means they don't need help, but rather go through wisdom. Why are they doing this? Because they don't want to accept our help. Master talked about this today. Not everyone is willing to accept help. But Master goes one step further. Not just that, but how do we turn hearing and watching? How do we hearing and vision into action? How do we turn the six senses? You know, the six senses, the six consciousness, the 六根, six senses, their job is to receive. But Master isn't just about receiving. It's about turning the reception into giving back. What you see and what you hear, the true wisdom is in how do you make it into action. So turning the six consciousness into six perfection, turning six sensory senses into actual actions. That's what Master is telling us, the true merits of teachers of Dharma. Because the teacher of the Dharma truly cares about the suffering of all sentient beings. They are willing to accept, but more than accepting, more than being shouted and understanding and accommodating. But what do you do next? You don't just take it in, but you give it out. You turn it into action. That's what this chapter is all about. It's not just about the superpowers and super merits that you get as a teacher of Dharma, but why did they get it? And how do they turn that into action to help people? That's what chapter 19 is about. And so far, we have seen the merits of the vision and the merits of hearing. And I'm sure we're going to go into the hardest of all, the merits of smelling. I don't really know what Master is going to say about the importance of smelling, but we will see. We will see. You know, I really don't understand how, you know, like seeing the suffering, hearing the suffering, I understand. I don't know if you can smell the suffering, but I'm sure, you know, if you go to the special charity cases, like, you know, Master once said, before you go into the house, you can already smell it. But I'm still looking forward for the next week when Master talks about the merits of smelling. I would like to know. It should be very interesting. So this is the sharing for today, and we're all looking forward to next week when we get into the merits of the nose. Okay, so stay tuned and stay awake, everyone, because we have to turn consciousness into wisdom. Thank you, everybody, and that's our sharing for today. And we are going to open the mic up for everyone else for the sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, to all the Dharma Master, brother and sister across the globe. Good morning, everyone. Today, both of us will do a sharing. Our sharing, I will put it in a way that it's about affinity, whether it's the big words for that or not, but it's throughout mine, especially myself, the journey to Tzu Chi. My name is Kaiwa. This is my sister, Taifo. So we joined Tzu Chi together, and then we get commissioned together. So the story I would like to share today is bring back to 2015 and way back in 2005. 2015 we have this very good affinity, I would say. It's a coincidence of what? Well, we have a very casual uh, visit to Hualien, to Taiwan, for our first time to Taiwan as a tourist. We just went for sightseeing, and then um, we went to Hualien, and so happened we went to Hualien for taking pictures. Before that, my sister, which is my wife, is already a donors to Tzu Chi for almost like since 2005. So, particularly, yes, I was tagged along. Tagged along to join all those events of Tzu Chi, those big events like Jam Blessing. Yes, I admit I do get inspired, but it's like right ear in, left ear out. So it don't stay in the heart. It's almost like in 2015, don't know what type of force she want to visit Hualien, which is I reluctant. I would say except for Tzu Chi, I don't see anything there. So anyhow, we went there. Then during that morning, it should be a 25th Christmas day, we missed the opportunity to visit because we overslept. Then we might think that why not we go on the 26th morning then. We don't go to Jing, we just go to Jing Town. So just to take a few photos. Definitely sister will get as upset lah. She will always say, this Jing we might have chance to bounce to master. I put it that way. I don't care. I don't care. So we just sightseeing in the morning, then in the morning of 26th December. When we are about to go, depart from Jing Hall around 8:30 in the morning. Suddenly, in the slide, I think you can see, I don't know who is this sister. She don't let us go. She keep pulling us back. She said the way we take selfie is wrong. So she insists taking picture of us. This is a few pictures she took. In fact, we have been married like 20 years, 19 years during that time. So she said, take this as a memory home. Then we took a few pictures of us here and there. Then suddenly, she stopped us and said, hey, sister, we have to go to the train. We have to go back to Taipei. She said, wait. She said, I heard master is coming. I said, so? so she said, wait, take a queue, line up together with all the volunteers. I see everybody are so excited when master is coming, but I sincerely don't feel a thing. I don't have that type of urge. Well, we still stick on the queue, and then we saw master pass us by. Then I said, well, that's about it. Then this sister again, I don't know why, she just don't let us go. Then she said, why not you all stand at the front of the queue? In front of the queue, master just walked us, and then this sister so happened to stop master. He said, master, these two persons is from Malaysia. They are here for sightseeing. And until today, I still remember during when master, she stand, I think like 3 feet face to face to us. I still remember I'm trembling, and then my tears suddenly shed. I don't know why. And then I still remember what she said. These few words, 马来西亚好，回去查询马来西亚成绩。Then during that moment, I feel something is not right with me. Something is not right. Then the Taiwan volunteers and tell us, and said, hey, what, you know what happened just now? I said, I didn't know. They say master seldom come to this Jing or Hualien, and yet your first time visit here, you are going to bounce to her. This is a very, very big Fu Bao. So then we text the message back to her sister, which is already a commissioner. And the sister just said, "You guys might be crazy." Then to add on that is that a week before we depart to Taiwan, I also don't know why something pushing me. During the dinner with my in-laws, I just shouted out very loud. I think the next neighbor also can hear. Is that like if I met up with master, I would immediately become volunteers. This was so loud and everybody, a family member did that. So once I'm back in KL, sorry, brother, next slide. So I joined in as volunteers. This slide is the subsequent year 2016. I brought the whole family and visit Cheng again. So it's a very memorable, and then the children, the whole family actually feel very, very nice, very proud that we found this place. So to add on to that, then I will look at it. Why me joining Tzu Chi? Tzu Chi is never close to me in the way that actually I'm wrong. So back in 2005, my sister is already a donor. She has been pushing me especially to join Tzu Chi for all those big events and whatsoever events. But like again, I said, the thing is not in me. So now I'm looking back, the good seed actually planted at home all these years. Since 2005, it has been there for 10 years without realizing. So during the last one, during the commission in Sanchong, so I really felt my tears shed again during that time. It's not because of master putting in the tag to me, but it's during the brothers and sisters. I mean, they put on the flowers, the flowers on my shirt. Then I told myself, I only give master and the Tzu 4 words. 用心良苦. She doesn't mind.
Yes, it's a Chinese one. Thank you, sir.
To actually add on, I started to become a member of Tzu Chi because of my ex-colleague. So my ex-colleague is a commissioner, and now she already migrated to Sydney. So basically, to me, it's when she first invited me to become a member, I was like, since I'm making monthly donation to other charity body, I was like, just might as well add on to another one. So, but she's very persistent and sharing with me all the Tzu Chi magazine, the Yue Kan, and then also inviting me for the yearly annual event like Yu For, the year-end ceremony like the Sun Mo Tu Fu. So, from reading all the monthly magazine, actually it inspired me of what Master has done for the society and the community. So I'm very inspired by her very powerful mind and her determination to do a lot of things like the 四大志业, all that kind of thing. So I would always wanted to like see Master in person. So after so many years, in fact during the annual event, I keep trying to bring my own brother and my family member to join the event. Somehow or rather, it's like maybe it's an affinity. When we first attempt to attend this, I think that it's a 岁末祝福 or youth, I can't remember exactly. So it's very crowded kind of situation, and it's like we are walking, so we feel like get very messed up. So we thought of actually leaving, but somehow things will happen. This affinity is always there for us to get close to Tzu Chi. we have one very elderly Lao Pusa is a volunteer. At the last minute when we about to leave the stadium, this Lao Pusa approached us and bring us into the hall. And when the event started, every one of us is like, we feel so attracted by the calmness and how to explain is that we feel very purified and calm in the stadium when it shuttered down all the lights and we only see starlights and the music or whatever they tune in is very soothing. So ever since that, I think my home brother attracted to join this event almost every year if we are in town. So, but as what he said, is only limited to the 2 or 1 annual event and nothing else. So, but to me, it's like to because since I keep reading the magazine and updates from my friends, so to me, it's like why are we leaving this? But in my heart, it's like I couldn't come in myself alone because to me, it's like I always think like if I go, I come in alone and my brother is on the other side. I find it I cannot walk too far. If I really want to join the Tzu Chi and walk the Buddhist Dharma. So I waited patiently. So every year I just continue my effort to bring him along. So finally in 2015, his home brother suddenly said he wanted to have a overseas trip. And I don't know whose idea is it to say wanted to go Taiwan. But in my head, since already 10 years become a donor, so I say, why not we just spend 1 day in Hualien? So in fact, I think their trip is to us is like 1 day and stay 1 night. So morning we actually go to, I don't know whether I can use the word fishing him to go to Hualien. It's because of the national park of Tarago. I see the scenery very beautiful, not only the Jing Tang, that kind of thing. So, but that morning actually is very magical. We don't know why we bump into this sister, and unfortunately, I lost contact with this sister also because when we actually wanted to go back for commissioning, I tried to text her actually, but I couldn't get hold of her. Maybe it's also my fault because when we first met her, ever since the meetup, she keeps sending me line messages. I think we keep into contact like almost a year. That's why when second year when we go back, we met her again.
In the hospital.
Unplanned is also at the Jingsi
and also.
and because she is also a volunteer there. Actually, she told me she's a Christian. She's a Christian, but she follows Sangha because of the affinity with Master in the Hualien hospital. So actually that morning she bring us the entire compound to the
I also don't know.
because after taking the because she actually confronted us why you take picture using a selfie stick. It's very unprofessional. She told us she's a professional
And
photographer.
then we tried to probe further what's her name.
Yeah.
She told us, wherever you smile, you think of me. So we call her Smile Sister.
So she shared me her Chinese name. I don't know how to pronounce it. It could be a Ming Fen. I think it's Ming Fen. So very cheerful sister. So she just keep bringing us along, and taking pictures from the hospital, the Jingsi Hall, inside out. We just saying a word, but just just take a picture like your 19th wedding anniversary. So without knowing anything, but come about that time, she just whispered to us, "Hey, you know what? Master is coming." I was like, "Huh? Are you sure?" No, because to me, I was a bit disappointed when we missed the first week. My actually initial plan is like the first day when I reach Hualien, I must visit the Jingsi Tang. The next day morning, I supposed to go to Jingse because my sister told me Jingse very beautiful, and the Sifu says that. So that was my intention. It was like maybe my home brother, since he made a big wow, so whether we have a chance. So, but life is like that. Even we miss that out, but things make it happen. In fact, Master is coming up from Jingse to Jingse Tang for us to have this meet up for us to have this special moment. So it's when I first see the master coming down from the big van, I was like, wow, it's real. It's real. So actually everybody is excited, and then because actually we are the two wearing this kind of a t-shirt and jeans, the rest is all in uniform. We are a bit awkward actually in the queue. So first round when she walked past, I think my heart pumps very fast. I see my own brother, the facial also a bit like different. So never mind, but the sister pushing us to go into the inner hall, and that was the moment. Is like suddenly this sister also like don't know what is the courage. She just comes out and just introduce us to master, and we got like, oh my god. So I think that day I act very quite stupidly also. I don't know what I actually say.
Then the most thing that is whether you put it as a coincidence, the week before exactly, I just make
set a very big trap for himself.
So it's like if I met up with master, I'll be proud. Just the word. I do today. I
don't know why he actually. To me, I always put a joke. It's like he set a biggest trap ever for himself. But I think I actually noticed some changes on him. It's like he feel more happy. At least the facial also you can see. He is more relaxed compared to those days. He say he look younger now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then here the part in the middle, it's like those days I was just like, you can put a chopstick there. So now he's like, it's open up, so I can see more smiling.
So I would say master have not given up. 用心良苦. All these years we are reluctantly to receive and accept. But master has been day in, year out, without fail, passing on the Dharma to us. Yet we do not accept it properly, which is I think we should more Jing. I think that's the sharing we had for this morning. Thank you everybody for listening.
Brother Tai Hua and Sister Chai Feng, in fact, both of them is a very blessed couple, and they are very diligent in almost all the missions in Tzu Chi. They involve in charity and also recycling and also even education in Tzu Ban, and also in medical. And yesterday night we just had a meeting, a first meeting for the Puchong medical outreach that we are going to have it in next month, 24. So thank you so much for this couple.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the brother Kai Hua and sisters for this couple who are in a spiritual cultivation, a couple in our Tzu Chi world. I think back to what Master said yesterday. Master gives us the test. Is saying that the Tiva, the Zivan Zivaka birds, which is there's a single body with two heads. I think same like this couple before they join Tzu Chi. I think even though they like it's similar, like they are a couple as like a family, one family but with two heads, because the husband and wife maybe have two different opinions, and maybe they share the same common faith because they've been a couple, they married together, but each of them have a different minds and thoughts. This is, I think, before this couple before they joined Tzu Chi. But I think once they got a amazing experience to meet the master and went to visit our Hualien, and she got a chance to join and be part of our Tzu Chi member. And now I think this couple has been already shared the same Dharma lineage. It's just like we share the same body and the same, it's a small family, but they are having the same Dharma lineage of the Jingshi. And even though they have two heads, but I think they have a same mind and thoughts, and because they are happily couple and who do the same good deeds in the Tzu Chi world. I think this is so wonderful, so that we can see what the tests are from yesterday and today. Even though Master they mentioned the twin, the baby, they have a different opinions, and their needs is different. But I think since just now for Brother Kaiwa, they are sharing, I think at least I can hear that they have a same vision and a mission as well. And they have a same merits of hearing, and which is they do the same thing and work through the Bodhisattva path is in the correct path. I think this is what I can give the feedback. And now I bet to Brother Joy and see what he's going to say.
Thank you, Master Tzu Huang. I'm going to say goodbye because the time is up. But before that, just like what Dharma Master Tzu Huang said, that it's very important to have the same idea in the same direction. From this story, thank you so much, Brother Kaiwa, and also Tzu Feng, in that sharing this. For me, the thing that I got the most was, who is this sister? Who is she? And this goes back into chapter 18. Okay, 随喜功德品. In chapter 18, it talks about if someone were to stand outside, you need to invite them in. If someone were to come in, you need to give up your seat and let them sit and let them listen to the Dharma. I think that's exactly what was done by this volunteer in Jingsi Hall. And I'm sure while Brother Kaiwa and also Tzu Feng were still thinking, why do you do all this? And before you know it, you're talking to the master and you're like, oh my God. Well, it's not oh my God, it's oh my Buddha, okay? So oh my Buddha, okay, I'm talking to the master now, okay? So what does that mean? It means that, to pass on the Dharma, to pass on this teaching, you need to let the recipient feel joyous. And because they are happy and joyful, then they will accept your teaching. And that's why the chapter 18 is called Joyous Acceptance of Merits. The merits of joyful acceptance. It means that you are sharing in a way that others are happily accepting the teaching. And when they are happy, they will open their minds to accept the teaching. And when they accept the teaching and happy, what happens next? You go home and you begin to share with other people. That's why in the next year, you guys come back again with your family. And that's why the year after that and the year after that, you become commissioner because you are happy to do this because you found your family. And I think that's what these chapters are talking about. How do you make it so other people can happily accept the teaching, joyfully accepting the Dharma? And if you can have that power to share, whether it's by talking, by singing, by upholding, by copying, by reciting, then you are the teacher of Dharma. Okay, so that's what these chapters are talking about. So thank you, brothers and sisters, for your wonderful sharing and bringing us a lot of smiles and laughters, and because we all gone through the very similar things. There's always this sister that will push you out and say, go talk to the master. And then you're like, whoa, what am I going to talk about? And then all of a sudden you start to cry. It happens to everybody, and then you realize, well, that's how, the past karma pushes you forward, that you couldn't stop it. You don't even know why, but it just happens. And now you know why, because it was all our vow. But just like in chapter 3, we might have forgotten about it. But guess what? So happy that master didn't forget about it. So softly, she said, well, 马来西亚很好啊，回去要继续啊. And then you said, oh, I got it. I understand. And then you return, you return back to our rank. So thank you so much. And I hope that through this, you can also get more people to come in, whether it's through your work in Tima or anywhere. That's the important thing. Getting more people so that the Dharma can be passed on. Okay, thank you for our masters today that can be with us today. And thanks to all of you. And that will be our sharing for today.